So what are these steps to become a business school professor? You often hear about people that are doing this kind of stuff, and how is it actually, uh, how do you do it? So this is really just me trying to be as real and authentic as I possibly can. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to choose a focus of what you want to study as a scholar, as a business school professor. So if you want to become a teacher in a business school, then by all means just get an MBA and start teaching in some sort of business school. There's lots of people that can do these kind of things. It's a much quicker route, and then you, as well as it's going to benefit you to get an MBA. If you want to become an administrator, if you're thinking of like becoming a dean or something like that, sounds kind of interesting. You can go about it by getting a PhD and or a DBA, a Doctor's of Business Administration. Sometimes if you want to become a dean, you just have to be an outstanding person in the business world, and then they'll invite you to become a dean. You can apply and they'll invite you to become a dean if you're an outstanding sort of business person, but that is less and less so. It just depends on the business school and what they want to do. Often you need some sort of doctorate degree, some sort of terminal degree to become a dean, or to be in sort of a administrative role in a business school. If you are thinking of doing research, and this is kind of the normal route, if you're wanting to do this sort of tenure track direction, this is where you become a assistant professor, which is myself, an associate professor, and then a full professor, which is the normal route of what we think about becoming a business school professor, is the sort of normal tenure track process. And that is the research route. You have to think about that, and you first of all, you have to apply and get into a business school in terms of a PhD in business administration. And once you do that, then you have to choose your research focus. And you have to be very focused on whether you're going into finance, for example, marketing, management, information systems, strategy, whatever it is, you have to have that focus going forward and know what you're going to do. And then the next step is just, I'm going to be honest to you, you're going to have to put in, before you actually become a business school professor, you have to put in, anywhere from 3 to 10 to 15 years of research before you can actually get into a business school. And that is being paid at PhD salaries, which is really low. So it is a drag, and there's a lot of work involved to that. If you're, for whatever reason, sometimes there's weird things that happen, and you're very fortunate you can do that in 3 years. That is extremely unusual. Very, very unusual, but I have seen 1 or 2 cases where that happens. Most people, it's going to take them probably about, 7 years, 5 to 7 years before they actually become a business school professor someplace, depending on what's going on with their life and all that kind of stuff, of doing research after an MBA. That is the norm, and you're just doing the research, right? And what you're trying to do is you work with a senior level faculty member of some sort, and you just have an interaction with them. And that's, in not kind of a creepy way, but, just kind of interact with them and do research on a regular basis as like a colleague. What you do in the regular workforce, you're just doing reading, writing, and arithmetic for a long time. And then you become a professor, eventually become what is called an assistant professor. But before you get there, I should mention you have to apply to many different jobs, and you have to kind of take what you get. Sometimes people are really fortunate, and they are, that they can go to any school that they want to, as a business school professor of some sort. That's rare. That is very rare. That they're very at the top of the market, but everybody else has to apply to many different places, and you just kind of have to find one that sort of fits with you and what's going on. So it could be anywhere around the world, and really, this is that people do go anywhere around the world now when they become a business school professor. That is truly is the norm. At least when you're applying, you should, at this stage, you should count on moving anywhere within North America, if you're in North America or your particular sort of continent. And that's the, whether fortunate or unfortunate norm going forward, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. And the last thing I wanted to sort of point out to become a business school professor, and there's lots of different sort of stages and things like that you have to go through, and you can watch some of my older YouTube videos, but really it's all about persistence and just continuing to do something for a long time. And it is just, you just have to persist at it. That's one piece of advice that was given to me, and it's been really good advice, and I've taken that going forward, and it's really helped me out, and hopefully it's going to help you out, because to actually become a full professor, you're probably going to have to do 20 to 25 years of research and sort of focusing on something, whatever it is, and just being really focused on that. And that is kind of the pinnacle in the career. Well, sort of. It's the beginning of the pinnacle of the career. There's lots more other things that happen after that, but basically what you're trying to do, it's like a ladder with the tenure track process. You become, first of all, an assistant professor. You kind of earn your wings at that moment, and then you go and become an associate professor at about anywhere between 5 to 8 years. You can go up for an associate professor, but normally it could be a lot longer. The norm is probably a little bit longer, to be honest. And then then you become an associate professor, and you do some more research, and you grind away a little bit more, and then eventually you become an assistant or a full professor, where you go and you have to demonstrate that you're world renowned somehow, and people just know who you are all around the world, and that's an